Alright, so leveling up a new character, leveling up your character for the first time if you're a new player to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, or just all in all the CRPG is based on the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, or any edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Before we continue though, little disclaimers that I do want to make. A lot of this thing that we're going to be discussing in this video is going to sound very basic for experienced players. If you're an experienced player and you have something of advice as well, then be my guest in the comment section. You're very much appreciated, and any kind of input that you can give to new players is going to be very appreciated. Second, I'm only going to be covering the basics in this thing, and I'm going to be using a fighter for this specific showcase and purpose. I just want for new players to be aware of how leveling a character should look like, what should you be doing, but for the rest of the characters, it should somewhat be something similar. It should also be something following like pipeline. I'm going to be showing you things that the game doesn't tell you and that you need to be aware when you're making a new character, when you're leveling up a character for the first time and you encounter those little terms that you're not familiar with, and you need to be aware for you not to mess up your character. Do have in mind as well that this game is going to have respecs, so you shouldn't trouble yourself that much as you should have traveled on different CRPGs like Neverwinter Nights and whatnot. If you mess up your character in those games, you would have to restart everything back again. In this game, it's not going to be the case because we have respec in this game, so do not be that puzzled if you do not understand how to level up your character that much. I'm also going to have a showcase of the build that we're going to make in this specific video, for you to be able to see how easy it is to make a strong character, but you do need to have in mind some little extra things that we're going to be discussing about in this video, so I advise for you to watch the entirety of the video and then head over to the showcase to see how powerful can we make a character by leveling proficiently, by leveling up properly. And then finally, before we continue with the video, I'm not going to cover the very first level of your character. I do know that is a very important part of your build of your character, but I have already discussed that in a different video. I respect your time. I do not want to waste your time that much with these videos. So that said, I do explain how to create a character. It involves way too much stuff. It involves your ability scores, min-maxing your ability scores, the skills that you are going to be using for that character, and just all in all, creating a character, it's a whole world on itself. I do have a different video about that. We're not going to be covering that on this specific video. On this specific video, I'm going to show you how to level up a character once you already have that pre-established character and you have something in your mind that you want to accomplish. That is what we are going to be covering in this video. That being said, let's continue. Right, so Lae'zel is going to be our model right here. There's a few things that you need to have in mind before we continue with the character creation, and it's just going to be the proficiencies and everything that you already have with your character. You do not want to be doubling things, especially if you're going to multi-class. You already have proficiencies. As you can see, Lae'zel, it's already proficient on pretty much every single weapon. So proficiency is just going to allow you to be better with that weapon. And sometimes, in some cases, especially if you're multi-classing, you're going to be allowed to choose proficiencies over your proficiencies. We're going to go over that in a little while, but do have in mind that proficiencies do not stack. The only thing that is going to improve your proficiency, it's going to be expertise, which is going to double your proficiency, and you can check out your proficiency right here for you not to be confused, because you are going to get confused. I'm going to be showing you that in a little while. About the stuff that we have right here. And then we have our character features right here. This is going to be what is going to determine our build at the end of the day, and you want to follow the synergies. This little tab right here is going to be amazing for content creators like me, because this is going to allow me to show you the specific features that you're going to be choosing on some determined levels, and these features, they are going to be power spikes for your level on the new classes that you are going to be leveling up. That said, let's continue. So then again, I would say that this is not ideal for Lae'zel, for a fighter, but if I were to create a character, I would lower my intelligence, I would lower my wisdom, and I would pop up all that into dexterity, constitution to have more hit points, or dexterity to have that much more armor class or initiative. One thing that you need to have in mind is that sometimes when you level up, you are going to have a pre-established character feature that is going to just be a new level. It's going to give you that specific something, and you cannot change it. You're going to get hit points as well, the amount of hit points. This is not the extra hit points that you are going to get. This is the total amount of hit points that you are going to get at level 2. So at level 2, I'm going to have 20 hit points, and I'm going to receive a new class feature with my fighter. This is going to be different for every single class. Just to have in mind that that new feature is going to be as well a power spike, because it's going to give you something inherent of that class that you cannot change, you cannot alter. This is always going to be coming with one level of the class. So at some point, in some levels, you do not have to worry about choosing anything, because the game is going to do everything for you, and you shouldn't be troubled by it. You shouldn't be puzzled by it. There's nothing that you're going to be able to change right here. So at level 2, a fighter is going to get action search. And action search basically allows you to do an extra action in one turn. An extra attack, extra movement, just a extra action. And you have in mind that you shouldn't confuse extra actions with bonus actions. Now, the features that you actually do have control over are going to be very interesting, and this is where you're going to start planning your builds. At level 3, you're going to have to choose a subclass. So we have, for example, the Battle Master and the Eldritch Knight. Do have in mind that also, if you go with the Eldritch Knights, these are spells that you have cantrips. Cantrips are basically spells that you can always use. They are always going to be available to you. They do not have cooldown. They do not. You do not have to wait until you rest into a short rest or a long rest to be able to use these guys. And the fact that you're choosing these two right here doesn't mean that you're going to be locked with them during the rest of the playthrough. So do not be do not be afraid of customizing your skills as much as you like, as much as you want, because this only means that these are the spells that you're going to have in your spellbook, but this can be altered at any time on the rest of the playthrough just by accessing your character sheet with your spells and just change all of this stuff. So do have in mind that this is customizable, and the fact that you chose this for your character level is not going to deter you from being able to use the rest of the spells on the rest of your playthrough. But that is going to be the basics for a caster. But we're going to be focusing right here on a Battle Master. The Battle Master, there are some things that you need to have in mind if you want to do a specific kind of warrior. Lae'zel, we're building her as a 200 warrior. She's using a 100 right there, but we do have our 200, and this is going to be based for a 200 warrior. It's going to be based on a DPS. But let's say, for example, that you would be building instead a tank. You're going to be building a tank, so this skills that you have right here at level 3, yeah, level 3, we're going to get a feature of a superiority dice, which is going to be allowing you to deal more damage with your throws. And these are attacks that are going to be using with your superiority dice. Menacing attack, pushing attack, rally, riposte, trip attack, and disarming attack. You are going to lock yourself out of some of these attacks. You are going to be able to choose some of them later if you so want to, but the class at level 3 is allowing you to choose just 3 right now. I would say, like, for example, for a 200, this is the path that I would go to, because this is a very CC focus game, and I do want to be CCing enemies. This is going to frighten targets, this is going to prone targets, and this is going to disarm targets. But, for example, if you want to make a more kind of a leadership, leader, warrior, captain, or a more focused tank character, let's say, for example, if I were to build a one-hander with a shield, this is what I would be taking instead, because riposte is going to allow me to attack enemies whenever they miss on me. And if I have high AC, I have high armor class, which I am going to get from my armor, from my shield, from my dexterity. If I have a really high armor class, most of the times the enemies are going to be missing their attacks against me, which is going to allow me to riposte that more often. I'd not use this thing that much with a 200, because a 200 is not going to have that much of armor class. It's not going to be as tanky as a shield user, so that is something that you need to have in mind. And then this is where I wanted to get you in this video. At level 4th, at level 8, at level 12, you're going to get the chance to select 2 points into ability features. Your ability features, remember, they are your stats. So let's lower this bad boy right here, and I have 17 strength right here. If I pop off these numbers right here, I'm going to have 19 strength. Now, this is going to be subject to interpretation. I'm going to give you my advice, but I do not advise for you to take any kind of ability improvements on level 4, level 8, level 12, unless you're a very specific trained player, experienced player, and you already have in mind what you're going to be using those feature points on. You already know how the equipment and armor and accessories work in this game, because my advice is that if you want to increase your features, your ability points, then it's all the best idea to just use the items that you have in the world that are going to give you those specific abilities. Like, for example, this being a warrior, just try to find some gauntlets of ogre strength. There are better ways to improve your abilities for your characters, and do remember that the cap of the stats you have right here, it's going to be 30 to get a plus 10 on your ability checks. And basically, for example, if I get a plus 10 on my strength, which would be at 30, I would already be getting the maximum damage that I can get on my weapon. But this is something that the game doesn't really tell you that well, and if you're a new player, you're going to get confused a little bit, since there are some levels that you can immediately, instantly get what you are going to be getting right now. Like I said, since the game already pre-established what you are going to get in some levels, you might think to yourself, oh, maybe these are just some free stats that I can get on this level. Well, no, you can swap the feature right here and choose something entirely different, which is going to be in your best interest to actually take a lot of these features for your build, depending on what you want to do. So, for example, let's say that I want to use heavy armor, and as you can see, this feature is going to give me heavy armor proficiency, and it's also going to give me an ability score for strength. So that is always better to gain a proficiency and also get an ability score. But oh boy, remember that I told you to be aware of your proficiencies. I am already proficient with heavy armor. You see? If I would like to use heavy armor with a different class, it would most definitely be okay, but I am already proficient with heavy armor. I do not need that point into that level. So also, let's say for example that I want to be proficient with a different weapon. As you can see, the game does allows you to choose different proficiencies, and is going to allow you to select a proficiency on top of a proficiency. This is what I was telling you about. You are already proficient in every single weapon. If you choose this feature, you are only going to get one ability score, and all of this, it's going to be going to waste because you're already proficient with that weapon. Whereas, for example, if you're a paladin or you're a different kind of class that wants to do a different kind of weapon, you want to be proficient on a weapon, then this is something that you most definitely be using. But as a warrior that already has all of the proficiencies, this is not something that I would be taking. So if I am not going to be taking all of that, then why is it not better to just choose my ability scores? Well, maybe you are a tank, but you're quite squishy against spells. And you come here, you choose Weapon Master. Weapon Master is going to give you a +2 on your dexterity saving throws to decrease damage, basically, that you receive from spells. Every time that someone throws a spell at you, you're going to do a dexterity saving throw, and if you do not bypass that dexterity saving throw, you're always going to only take half damage that you would originally take. But if you actually manage to bypass that saving throw with dexterity, you're not going to take any damage. So if you're a shield user, this is just all in all a best idea to take. On the other hand though, since like I said, I am a great weapon character, I am a two-hander, I'm going to be taking Great Weapon Master, because when I attack with a melee weapon and I do a critical hit, I can make a bonus action with my melee weapon. Also, when I kill a creature, I can get a bonus action with my character. Yes, I'm going to get a penalty on my attack rolls, that is pretty much a bummer, but if you have a cleric that can give you bless on your character, or you have just different accessories that allow you to bypass all of that, then it's most definitely fine. Now the class is going to start to make a little bit more sense, and like I said, you just have to be aware of those little extra little things that you are going to be getting. At level 5 I am going to get a pre-established leveled as well, but at level 5 I am going to get an extra class feature, which is just basically going to be an extra attack. At level 5, thanks to my race, I also have Misty Step, which is amazing. I think that this is one of the strongest points of making a Githyanki, because having Misty Step as a melee character, oh boy, that is very broken, because you can freely move throughout the battlefield with this thing. So yeah, I think that Githyanki is... I think that is why Lae'zel, it's an amazing option to have as a fighter on your party. Now that all that has been said and done, like I said, you have the extra features that you got while leveling up right here, and this is where you're going to have the synergy. I'm going to have a background clip right here to showcase you the build as I showcase it to you while I tell you a little bit about it. But basically what I did right here is that I chose Great Weapon Fighting to increase my damage. This is the basic level 1 feature that we already choose from this when we were creating a character. And basically, it just gives me more damage if I fail my dice rolls. And then with Great Weapon Master bonus attack, if I land critical hits or I kill a creature, I'm going to be able to do an extra attack to keep on the battlefield. And then on my Great Weapon Master, I am going to increase the damage that I deal by taking a hit into my attack rolls, but if I get something like Bless or if I use potions, I'm going to be bypassing this just fine. And then we have the extra attack, which basically it gives me an extra attack. All this summed up as a base for a build at level 5 makes a very deadly character. And as you can see by the gameplay that you have in the background, I am trying to use my extra characters as a backup, but Lae'zel ended up killing the entirety of the enemy squad by herself just because we have a deeply detailed build that we did decide to build like that. And as you can see, it just took us a few minutes to build this thing. And there's a little bit of a terminology right here. There's some little hidden features that the game doesn't tell you to be able to build a build as strong as this one. But if you're careful, if you're doing your synergies, which is ideally what you want to be using, especially if you're going to multi-class, you want to have synergies that is going to allow you to achieve that specific something. So this specific kind of warrior, this is amazing at clearing lots and lots of enemies. So for example, if I would be using the rest of my party as a backup for damage for this character, I would just be dealing the first damage to one enemy and then the rest of the damage to one different enemy, and let Lae'zel be the executioner, because every time that I kill stuff, I'm going to get extra attacks. I'm going to just be cleaning up the battlefield with this type of builds, and that is how you want to level up a character on Baldur's Gate 3. Like always, if you have extra advice for new players, then be my guest. The comment section is down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel before you close the door, and I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.